Chapter 1. Thinking in English. The first step. Zane was a young student with a dream. He wanted to speak English confidently. Every time he tried, he felt nervous. He knew some words. He knew some grammar rules. But when it was time to speak, his mind went blank. He would think in his own language first. Then he tried to translate into English. This made speaking slow and confusing. He often forgot simple words. Sometimes he made mistakes. This made him feel frustrated. One day, Zane read an article about learning languages. The article explained a very interesting idea. It said that to speak a language well, a person should train their brain to think in that language. Many students fail because they translate every sentence from their own language into English. This slows the mind. But if the brain thinks in English directly, speaking becomes faster and natural. Zane liked this idea. He thought, if I can train my brain to think in English, I can speak faster. I can feel more confident. He decided to try this method. He knew it would take time and patience. It was not a magic solution, but it was simple and logical. The first step was to start with small sentences. Zane began describing his daily life in English in his mind. When he woke up, he thought, I am waking up. Today is a new day. When he washed his face, he said in his mind, I am washing my face. The water is cold. When he ate breakfast, he thought, I am eating bread and tea. It tastes good. These sentences were simple, but thinking in English every day trained his brain. Slowly, it became natural. Zane also noticed that he needed to listen carefully to English. He watched short videos and listened to simple conversations. He did not try to speak immediately. He only listened and repeated in his mind. This helped his brain remember English sounds. It also helped him recognize patterns. After listening many times, he began to think in English automatically. Another important habit Zane started was speaking to himself. At first, he spoke only short sentences. He described what he saw, what he did, and what he planned. For example, he said, I am walking to the park. The sun is bright. The birds are singing. Speaking aloud helped his brain connect words with actions. His thoughts became clear in English. Zane also wrote sentences in a small notebook. Writing helped him remember new words. But he did not just write in his own language and translate. He tried to write directly in English. This was difficult at first. He made mistakes in grammar and spelling, but he continued. Every mistake taught him something new. After some weeks, Zane noticed a small but important change. His mind started thinking in English automatically. When he saw a pen, he thought, this is a blue pen. I can write with it. When he wanted to drink water, he thought, I am drinking water. It is cold and fresh. These small exercises made his brain familiar with English words and sentence structures. Zane also practiced imagination. He imagined conversations in English in his mind. For example, he thought about meeting a friend. He imagined asking, "How are you today?" and imagining the answer, "I am fine." "How about you?" By imagining real-life conversations, he trained his brain to react in English naturally. Another technique he used was labeling objects in his home in English. He put small notes on items, table, chair, door, window. Every time he saw them, he repeated the English word in his mind. Slowly, the brain associated the object with the English word automatically. This method helped him think in English faster. Zane also understood that mistakes are normal. The brain does not learn perfectly in one day. Every time he made a mistake, he corrected himself gently. He never felt discouraged. He reminded himself that consistent practice is the key. Daily effort is more important than perfection. By combining listening, speaking, writing, imagining, and labeling, Zane trained his brain. He was not just memorizing words. He was creating a natural habit of thinking in English. This habit would later help him speak fluently. Chapter 1 of his journey showed the first important lesson. Speaking English starts in the brain. Before words come out of the mouth, they must form in the mind. Training the mind to think in English is the foundation. Once the brain is ready, speaking becomes faster, natural, and confident. Zane smiled as he practiced his evening routine. He imagined a conversation in English, repeated simple sentences in his mind, and prepared for the next day. He knew this was only the beginning. His dream of thinking and speaking in English was starting to come true. Chapter 2 Building English Habits in the Brain. After a few weeks of thinking in English every day, Zane noticed a small but important change. When he saw objects, he thought of the English name first. When he planned his day, the sentences appeared directly in English. This was a new experience for him. He realized that his brain was slowly learning a new way to process language. He was no longer translating from his native language. First, Zane decided to make thinking in English a daily habit. He started by setting small goals. Every morning, he spent 10 minutes describing his plans in English. He said, "Today I will study English. I will read a story. I will practice speaking." Then he moved to daily activities. While washing his face, eating breakfast, or walking outside, he described everything in English. These small exercises were simple but very powerful. They trained his brain to link thoughts directly to English words. Listening also became an important part of his habit. Zane watched short videos and listened to conversations between native speakers. At first, he struggled to understand everything. Some words sounded new, and some sentences were fast. But he did not give up. He paused the video, repeated the sentence in his mind, and tried to speak it aloud. This repetition helped his brain recognize English patterns. Slowly, Understanding English became easier. Imagination became another key part of Zane's practice. He imagined conversations in his mind. For example, he pictured meeting a teacher at school. He imagined asking, "How are you today?" and receiving the answer, "I am fine." "How about you?" Erect. By visualizing conversations, Zane trained his brain to react naturally in real life. He could now think of what to say next, without translating first. Writing in English also helped Zane build strong brain connections. He started keeping a small notebook for new words and sentences. But he did not translate from his own language. He wrote directly in English. Sometimes he made mistakes, but he corrected them carefully. Writing made his brain remember words better. It also helped him create simple sentence patterns in his mind. Frey. Another important technique was labeling objects at home. Zane put small notes on doors, chairs, tables, and other items. Every time he saw an object, he said its name in English in his mind. Gradually, his brain learned to link objects with English words automatically. This simple method strengthened his thinking habit. Zane also learned to practice short conversations aloud. At first, he spoke only small sentences. He asked himself questions like, what am I doing? Or what will I eat today? Then he answered in English. These self-conversations helped him speak without fear. Over time, speaking became easier and more natural. One day, Zane realized another important lesson. Learning English in the brain is not about perfection. Native speakers make mistakes too. The goal is to express ideas clearly. His focus was on communication, not flawless grammar. This mindset reduced his fear of speaking and encouraged him to practice more confidently. Feck. Consistency became the most important factor in his learning. Every day, Zane repeated these habits: listening, imagining, thinking, speaking, and writing in English. Even when he was tired or busy, he spent a few minutes practicing. Gradually, his brain formed a strong habit. Thinking in English became natural, and words came more easily when speaking. Chapter 2 of Zane's journey showed a very important truth. Building strong habits in the brain is the key to speaking English naturally. Listening, imagining, speaking, writing, and repetition train the mind to think in English directly. Once the brain is trained, speaking becomes easier, faster, and confident. Zane smiled as he went to bed that night. He repeated sentences in his mind and imagined conversations. He knew that his brain was learning even while he rested. Each day of practice brought him closer to his goal. His dream of thinking and speaking in English was slowly becoming reality. Chapter 3: Speaking Naturally with an English Brain. After months of practicing, Zane noticed a major change. His brain had learned to think in English automatically. When he wanted to say something, the words came naturally. He did not need to translate from his own language anymore. This was a huge step in his journey. Thinking in English had made speaking easier, faster, and more confident. Zane knew that thinking in English was not enough. He needed to practice real conversations. He started talking to friends in English. At first, he used only short sentences. He asked, "How are you today?" or said, "I am going to school." His friends sometimes laughed, but they were patient. Zane realized that speaking in real situations was different from thinking in his mind. It required courage and concentration. To improve, Zane combined listening with speaking. Every evening, he listened to short recordings of conversations. After each sentence, he paused and repeated it aloud. He copied the tone, speed, and pronunciation of native speakers. This imitation made his speech sound more natural. Slowly, he noticed his accent improving. His words were clear, and his sentences flowed smoothly. Zane also practiced imagination daily. He imagined going to a shop, asking questions, and responding in English. He pictured meeting a teacher, greeting friends, and discussing simple topics. By rehearsing conversations in his mind, his brain prepared for real situations. When he actually spoke, he felt confident. His sentences came easily. He no longer stopped to translate or search for words. Another key step was using English for daily thoughts. Zane described everything he saw, or did. "Hey," he thought, "the sun is bright today," or "I am drinking water. It is cold." This daily mental habit connected English directly to his life. Now, his brain learned that English was not just a school subject, but a language for communication. Writing in English also helped Zane. He kept a notebook for sentences and new words. He wrote short stories about his day. Sometimes he wrote letters to imaginary friends in English. Writing trained his mind to form complete sentences. It also helped him remember vocabulary. Zane understood that mistakes were normal. Native speakers also make errors. The goal was communication, not perfection. When he made a mistake, he corrected it calmly and continued. This mindset reduced fear and built confidence. He learned to enjoy speaking English instead of worrying about errors. After some time, Zane's speaking improved greatly. He could carry a short conversation naturally. His sentences were clear, simple, and correct. People noticed his improvement. Friends and teachers asked how he became confident. Zane shared his method. Think in English. Practice daily. Listen carefully. Imagine conversations, and speak without fear. He realized one very important lesson. The brain is the most powerful tool in learning language. If it is trained to think in English, speaking becomes natural. Listening, reading, writing, imagining, and thinking every day strengthen the brain. This builds confidence and fluency over time. Zane smiled as he reflected on his journey. From a nervous student who translated every word, he had become someone who could speak naturally. Thinking in English had changed everything. His daily habits trained his mind. His dream of speaking English fluently was coming true. Hey? He now knew that learning a language starts in the brain. Once the brain is ready, words follow easily, ideas flow, and communication becomes natural. Zane's story teaches an important lesson for everyone. If you train your brain to think in English, speak confidently, and practice every day, you can learn English faster and naturally. Small, consistent steps create big results. With patience, imagination, and determination, anyone can speak English fluently.